Meeting's going to start in 1 minute. So if I can please have all the commissioners come to the dais. We do have a quorum. We have 4. We have a quorum. We're going to go ahead and get started for the special city commission meeting for Saturday, April 13th, 2024. If I can please have the city clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner Colwell.
He's here, I believe.
He is present. Commissioner Harriet.
Present.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee. He's not present. And Mayor Avila.
Here. If we can please stand for the pledge of the flag, and I'd ask for Commissioner Avila Vasquez to lead us into the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for the matter of minutes, Vice Mayor Jody Lee is actually here. All right, this time we're going to go into business. Just a reminder that there will be public comment. Please remember it is specifically on the subject in hand. So, Is Collins still here? Oh, there you are. Sorry. I was looking for you.
There we go. My apologies. I was sitting there and just kind of, anyway, as I think everybody knows, we've had a pretty good weekend and a very long day, at least for the candidates. Last night, yesterday they took a tour of the city, met some city staff, attended the reception. Public was there morning and this afternoon. The elected officials, the commissioners, and the mayor have each met with each of the candidates for about 40 minutes. And tonight, we're going to have the 2 remaining candidates, Carmen Davis and Doc Doherty, do a simulated kind of commission meeting where they'll be standing here and you'll be asking them questions. And our idea is that to have you see them in a social setting, in a one-on-one setting, and then a council meeting type setting. We did have 3 other candidates, and I think 4 actually, I guess. 2 of them had other opportunities, and 1 dropped out, and the 4th went into the hospital with pancreatitis. So we're down to 2 at the moment. We'll see what you all want to do after you've interviewed these candidates, and we'll be back here, I guess, Monday night for a decision. So our first victim, I think, is Doc Doherty, and I'll let him introduce himself. And what I normally recommend is that maybe each of you could ask 1 question, and the mayor just turns to one end of the dais or the other and just says, Mr. Commissioner Cowell, would you like to ask a question? And then he could ask, and then just rotate down the dais until you've all had 1, and then we'll go to the next candidate. So,
thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Just out of respect for the rules that we set up by this commission, each candidate is going to get 20 minutes. So I will do my very best for every single person up here to ask the question. So if the 2 candidates can just be mindful of that.
Good evening, commissioners. All right, let's get started. My name is Doc Doherty. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. Just give a little background, if you'd
Please.
like.
Yeah.
All right. Born and raised Allentown, Pennsylvania. Met my wife on a blind date. Married 30 years this New Year's Eve. We have 5 children. the oldest, 25, graduate of Florida Gators. She is a software engineer in Melbourne area. I'll be going over there tonight to see her. We have another one that's an officer in the Army as a quartermaster, college graduate, and then 3 other children that are at West Point right now, a freshman, sophomore, and a senior. That'll be future officers for our country in the Army. We started our career in South Florida, moving now from Pennsylvania to the West Palm Beach area. From there, after 12 years, became disillusioned with government. Had enough people in government to say, hey, aren't you happy? At least you're getting paid. My objective is to do stuff in life, especially in doing something for the community. After 12 years, I finally said to my wife, that's it. I want to recalibrate my skills. We're going to go to the University of Notre Dame to get my MBA. Left the workplace, 5 babies in tow, went up to South Bend, came out when the market crashed in 2008, and I was the oldest MBA student, and of course went back into what I know, which now I'm even worse than ever. Looking at things upside down and backwards from a business perspective in government isn't something you traditionally see. Plus a background in parks and recreation. I'm a special event coordinator and marketing person. So everything we put out should be put out with excellence. But from there, worked our way down to South Carolina, worked out of Walterboro, Charleston area, worked over in Macon, Georgia, went with the consolidated government, started as the city of Macon, transferred to Bibb County, the department, and then consolidated. So that was quite an experience. Down to Hillsborough County with 1.3 million people down there. Same concept of do very little was the expectations, which I told my wife the first day, I don't think we're going to make it very long here. I had to fully get into management. So I made the move up to Michigan, probably our one and only stop up in Michigan. Great people, great mayor and council up there. But our objective was always after 5-6 years, once the kids are through into college, to work our way back down to Florida. And just recently I was recognized as the longest serving manager in the city's history with great financial shape. But it's time for us to make the move down. And Deltona is one interestingly that keeps jumping out at me as a place I think I may want to be.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start with questions, and we'll add courtesy because he is on Teams. We're going to start with Commissioner Harriet, and then we'll go down through each of the districts. That'll be Commissioner Shimkus, and so on and so forth. Commissioner Harriet, do you have any questions for Doc? You're muted, Commissioner, just in case. All right.
He's very
We'll
good.
come back to Commissioner Harriet just to save some time. Commissioner Shimkus?
Yeah, thank you. First question for me is, what is your process for developing project plans, and how do you approach the tracking and reporting on plans across the city?
Plans in general, any plans?
All right, for any project we're going to attack, whether it's a stormwater project or a development project, or project management process.
Starting with the end, exactly what is the solution that we're looking for. I've seen a lot in government where plans are put together, they're put on the shelf because they were useless. And I've heard even Deltona has some of those issues over the years. You're hitting points where you're going. Expectation is here's the end. What's it going to take to get there? What's our halfway point? And who's involved and who's engaged. I don't think there's one set plan specifically for every project, but generically, I would say your end is what you have in mind. Any project that I'm directly involved in, my staff will say this also, it's not usually done in a vacuum. It is done with everybody involved. I heard some comments by citizens last night about more engagement from the citizen side, and generically having the citizens involved in tasks, task committee or anything else, brings them engaged so they understand the same situation that we understand. I talked to some of the commissioners today about that. What the outcome is, the project, we don't want the citizens just to say it's the city's decision that we can't do it. It's the consultant saying we can't do it, but absolutely we can do it. Well, we'd like to bring the citizens involved so that they can see that there may be issues one way or the other. So I'd see citizen engagement in some of these big projects that you guys are dealing with.
Thank you. Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
So I know that last night we had a little gathering here,
Yeah.
and you were able to meet with some of the residents. Today you met with the commissioners. So knowing or whatever little knowledge that you received from the residents, And I know that this is probably a hard question, being that you've had such a short time here, but what would be your goals to move the city forward, bringing staff's morale back up in the trust of the residents for the city?
I think, Commissioner, and for all commissioners, I think what this position attracts me the most is what appears to be a lack of stability overall. I think the commission's done the best they can with instability over the last 4 years or so of no one really in charge, almost like a traffic cop, and that's usually what the city manager is in working with staff, making them feel safe and secure, the commissioners themselves helping them be overly prepared for the meetings and some of the topics we're going to have, and then for the citizens themselves to be involved. I think that's the number one piece we have. You know, without a doubt, Glenn's done a great job and was fantastic with us this weekend. But he also isn't a full-time city manager, and this is what we do for a living. So looking at the stability of what I could bring to the community, I think is number one. Number two, the not biggest issue I received, but a complaint last night was, again, lack of citizen engagement, which that could be said, except it doesn't look like the commission is hiding anything. There's projects that are put out. It's just different people's perspectives. But as much information we can put out as possible to let everyone know what's happening, I think is pretty significant. I think your development is a concern. Infrastructure has to be there with the development. That's an experience. I always say, for especially city managers, you lived in different places around the country. I've worked with small governments, big governments, several different states. One thing I learned in Hillsborough County is we do not want to be Hillsborough County with traffic. So development is important. You need to have that increase in tax base, but it also has to be done with infrastructure first to make sure that we're covering ourselves. And I think we see a little bit of that flooding in the Teresa Basin may or may not be directly related to the flooding. So I heard a bunch of different issues yesterday, and I think the biggest thing, like I said, that really, as I look at this opportunity, it's what can I do to make this place better? And I think it's coming in as not the traffic cop, but someone with a background in stability that may have skin of an alligator, as I read in one of the brochures put out there, because I just believe in good government. I'm still an ideologue that believes everybody wants to do the best thing, and I think the staff will feel supported. The commission will be informed and be trustworthy of my leadership, and I think the citizens, by the vast majority, will understand that we're getting on track. Deltona should not be off track by any means.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again for being here, coming to the city. And in our conversations today, we brought up quite a few concerns that I had that were placed on the residents' hearts, what they were concerned about. So what I would like to hear from you, and when we're talking about keeping in mind transparency and stability, I would like to know what your top 3 goals are for the first 30 days.
First 30 days is to find out several things, but one is exactly individually what is the objectives of the commissioners. What is your personal agendas? Nobody runs specifically for office with just a general idea. There are things that they like to focus on. And although we talked about some of those things today, they were pretty short meetings. So my objective right from the start was to be meeting with each of you to go over what direction you really would like to see the city go. Leading the staff is without a doubt number one thing. Also, to meet with the department heads, where they're at, what their plans are, what their concerns have been, because you're looking again at a situation in Deltona where somebody didn't just leave as the city manager, or 2 years ago someone just left. It was 4 years ago. So there's been a little bit up and down. We have a lot of open positions. What's it going to take to fill those positions with the right person? Because within the 30 days, I'll have my orientation for all the staff. I've done it at my other locations, and it's an hour and a half presentation about who I am, where we're going, what we're doing. And one of the things I emphasize is and I mentioned it to some of you, that if you're a 10, you hire 10s. You want the best people around you. If you're a 9, you may not know you're the best or think you're the best, but you want the best people around you. I want the best people around me, because when you're an 8, you hire 7s. And again, we're acting in the people's best interest, the trust of the people. I don't hire just next in line. As much as there's limits what I can do up in Michigan, because I actually have 5 union contracts, all employees are a union employee, including department heads. Some of that exists up there of next in line, but not fully. But I want the best people around us. So there, we're going to fill these spots, but not just with next in line. Staff's going to feel secure, of course, that there's somebody in charge making decisions, and responsiveness to the citizens. When citizens come with legitimate questions and ask legitimate questions, that's fine. Coming with conspiracy thoughts and trouble and just looking to cause issues, that doesn't help anybody for anything. So one of the things I think I talked to each of the commissioners a little bit today and would is kind of decorum at meetings and how we present ourselves publicly, because people around the other communities are looking at us. And I did mention to 1 or 2 of commissioners today, I won't say what city it was, but when we were in South Florida, we used to say, as bad as our commission might get once in a while, at least we're not that city. It wasn't anywhere around here, and it wasn't Deltona. I feel a little bit that might be the image that people are putting out now is, hey, we might have trouble, but at least we're not Deltona, because obviously that's an image that's portrayed. That's really what I feel like is the challenge, to come in here and at the first 30 days and just find every different way I can correct that atmosphere. And especially being a background of marketing and promotions, there's some good positive things that we can add to our list, promote what we're doing, and maybe stop some of that feeling of this isn't a great place, but it is. Let's promote it that way and really kind of change the attitudes. I feel if I'm doing the job correctly, the staff's going to trust me, but also even more the commissioner's going to trust me as leadership. Won't agree all the time, without a doubt, because there's 7 different personalities up above, but we also have 100,000 residents that aren't going to agree on everything either. But we can find at least common ground as much as possible. So the first 30 days will be very active.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Colwell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is along with the lines of Mrs. McCool and Mrs. Avila. So what you've learned and knowing what you know, what would you say our greatest asset and our greatest weaknesses?
Wow. I'd say your and this is without thinking too deeply, is your residents. You've got, and I think they're both, because you've got an asset of an engaged population, people that want to see the community grow and be a great place, of course, to raise a family. But you also have some that are out there that are extremely negative towards the community, that no matter what, they're going to continue. And sometimes it's unfortunate that people look at a rainy day and say it's raining, but those same people look at a sunny day and say, now I'm going to get sunburned. And that, I think, is an issue as we talk about what kind of atmosphere we're putting out, what kind of image Deltona is putting out. That negativity is very damaging, because you can have a great city, but if people are saying how bad you are, the image is it's bad. But what's also great about that is you also have 100,000 residents that could be greatly engaged, that may be interested in not listening to that and actually moving forward. The opportunities are there, even the development, the Daytona Village, I know it's been going on since 2010, and there's some stall for different reasons, but that would be a fantastic addition to the community itself. But I would say, without digging deep, I would say the citizens are an asset and can also be somewhat of a weakness, unfortunately.
Commissioner Harriet, are you ready?
All right. I'm ready. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Daugherty, you had mentioned the community coming with legitimate concerns versus some potential conspiracies. How would you discern the difference, and what kind of time would you give to those residents to make that differentiation?
I don't believe in running a Facebook administration where whatever was said last night, we have to quick respond, and because then all we're doing is responding to people that just have a system that's called whataboutism. So you answer the first question, and then they say, what about this? And then you answer that question, what about this, and what about? And it just continues until you stop answering the question, and then they say, aha, we got them. They don't want to answer the 15th question, and you just can't spend all your time on social media. But I think if we have a good communication department from the city itself, they generally all dive into one big picture question. Although people take it different ways, if they're very confused about the flooding and what happened or where we're moving forward on, we have to have a consensus from the community put out there publicly to say, here's the situation, here's where we are. Going back a little bit to my earlier answer was, having some citizen task force, because then people understand it's not just coming from us or the consultants, it's also the citizens that are on the task force. There's some big issues like that, especially the flooding, big development issues, that I don't have an issue with having citizens be more engaged, for the fact that the more people can understand what's happening, the better we are off in the commission, that it's not just coming from us and consultants. So I don't believe in being very responsive to just the latest conspiracy theory, but I think as you look and see that there's an issue growing that people are very confused with, I think our communications department needs to make sure that we're putting out proper information and we can answer the question if they ask. The more information out there is the better. But at the same point, we just don't go every day to answer questions just because someone's came up with something crazy.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Well, I appreciate everybody's asking questions like the stormwater infrastructure, the whole thing. Mine, I want to know, well, there's all kinds of parts to it. And as you know, by talking to me today, I just say things the way I want to say it. But my big thing is, I don't want the citizens to get ripped off in the city anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want the taxes to keep going up. I don't want big developers to keep screwing us over. I want to do things that are smart where we're saving money, because my overall goal this year would be, I don't know if it's possible yet, is to lower our tax rate for our citizens. But I want to know what you plan on doing different, or what kind of promises you're going to give us in a nice way. What are you going to do different that's going to help our residents to fix our issues, save us money, and stop and get things done? Yeah. But I want your answer, not your canned political snowball answer.
The best decision hiring an outsider in any position that you have is to bring in outside eyes. When I hire people, there's a combination of hiring people within, if possible, but certainly bringing outsiders rather than just hiring from within. I hear a lot of residents often, and I'm coming to your answer, but I hear a lot of residents say, we need to keep that same person in there. They've been here forever. They've got the knowledge, but they have the knowledge of the way we've done things. You bring an outsider in, they look at everything and say, why are you doing this? That happened when I left Florida and went up to Michigan. One of the staff members said, other people do that way? I said, everybody does it that way, whatever that topic was. So zero-based budgeting is the number one thing that I would do at the moment that I'd arrive here, would be looking at the budget. And I think I mentioned each of you commissioners this concept too, is starting from zero. If you have a department, and I was a department head at one point, so I know how the trick is done a little bit, in 2020, you bought a copy machine that cost $20,000 in your budget. Well, the next year, you didn't get rid of that copy machine, even though you bought it. You added 10% to that line item, and then 10% to the next line item, 10%, and you just increase it each year. By the time you're 5 years into it, for some reason, you're still buying a copy machine for $20,000 in that line item. Every 5 years, you have to really go back into the budget to say, what do you really need to be successful in this line? That doesn't mean that we're going to reduce the lines. There might be an area where we need to add resources to a department to be more successful. But when you look back at least every 5 years, every year is a little too much of detail, but every line item exactly, what does that $400,000 mean? Then it can't be just $200,000 is miscellaneous. Well, what does that mean? Unless there are special surprises that come up during the year that you have to be prepared for. But it really breaks it down to say, commissioners, with honesty, this is exactly what it takes to run our city. The citizens then have trust also that, I guess that's what it takes. Because when you really get down to turning lights on, paying staff, that alone is a heavy chunk of the entire budget overall. As we know, personnel is huge, and just basic utilities. From there, what do you have left to actually do anything beyond that? Is it the fire department with educational programs? Is it parks and recreation with more special events and activities that we can add in there? But you could see the breakdown rather than saying operating supplies, $90,000. What does that mean? Well, we bought a copy machine 4 years ago, $20,000. That's why it's at 90 now. that really, I think, gets down to the bones of what do you need to really run the government. So I'm very much in favor of a lean organization. I don't believe that even department heads and leadership are people that should wear suits and drink coffee around the office. Everybody's got a hands-on job because there is no suits. And I'm not a suit myself, even though I'm wearing a suit today. I believe everyone should be engaged and involved, and everyone has a worth, and they need to show what their value is to the community.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one question, if you can please keep it under 2 minutes. We have a city manager form of government in the city of Deltona. What are you going to do to ensure that no one on the dais, including myself, respects that boundary where we're not directing staff specifically and that petitions are coming to the city manager?
Yes.
What are you going to do to make sure that we ensure that also gives our employees peace of mind that they have one boss, not 7?
I did explain to some of you earlier today about that. The concept is clearly that, and most residents don't understand the full city management government too. So when I get here, I'm going to go through that process to make sure everyone understands how it all works. But the department heads are usually the ones that are asked the most. I have no issue with the commissioners having a relationship with department heads or staff, friendship. And if you're calling about a pothole on the street near a friend's business on the street, you're calling Public Works, any other citizen would make that same phone call about a pothole on the street. If you call and say, my friend's parking lot needs a pothole filled, while you're on the street, take care of it. We can't have that. But my words to the department heads directly are, anyone that asks for anything beyond the pale, the answer is, you know how the game goes. You have to call the city manager and ask him, otherwise I can't do it for you. And as long as they understand that very clearly, because if an employee, and to be honest, if an employee is going out of their way to help one commissioner and not help the others, that employee may not be here very long to make the traveling team with us, because the rule's pretty well set. We're going to be fair, we're going to be honest, tell the truth, keep your word, exercise integrity. That's our ethical foundation. So any department head that just seems to be taking care of one commissioner or 2 commissioners and the others don't know it, that's inappropriate from the staff level. But I'll be willing to say to the commissioner, you can't ask for that. Well, but what do you need? Let me see if I'll take care of it for you, if I can take care of it for you. And I will, as much as we can. But we will not do anything where we take care of somebody's permit, somebody wants to move up the line for a fire inspection. We'll do it as they come through, because we're not going to be on the front page of a newspaper, playing favorites or having something happen in our community in which it was done that way because we pushed them ahead of somebody else. So we'll be as ethical as we can, and the commissioners, as much as I appreciate trying to get things done and representing divisions or your districts, it still has to be done just with structure. And if it's a legitimate request, it's going to be done anyway, because that's what we need to do. But employees need to feel secure.
Thank you, Mr.
They don't have
Daugherty.
2 bosses.
Thank you. If we can make sure we add 3 minutes, Joyce, to the next candidate. I appreciate you. If we can please have...
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. If we can please have Ms. Davis. Okay. And this time we'll ask the questions in reverse. That way all the commissioners again get a chance to ask questions.
You sure she wants to just watch it on TV out there?
Ms. Davis, how are you? You can
fine.
please
Good
give us a
evening.
quick introduction, and then each of the commissioners up here will ask you a question within the time frame allotted to you. So,
Thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to come and present myself and share my background and experiences in speaking with you, so that I can show that I would be a wonderful fit as your city manager. So a little bit about myself, and I believe you all have my background information, but in summary, as you know, I was a county administrator for Hinds County, Mississippi for over 9.5 years, as I was the longest tenured county administrator to date. In that position, I managed a staff of 900 employees, also had relationships with the constitutional elected officials as well, and assisting them to manage their different offices and making sure they had the resources to do their mandated duties. Also, I've managed cities as Lake Worth Beach, total of about 405 employees, where I also serve as city manager there. So with my background and experience for almost 25 years in local government, and including being an urban planner with the city of Detroit, I feel like I'm a wonderful fit for the city of Deltona.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. We're going to go ahead and start with Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we're going to go to Commissioner Colwell, and then down.
Thank you, Mayor. Nice to see you again, Ms. Davis.
Good to see you as well.
Mine's, just basically asked the same question before to the other candidate about I want to save money in the city. Our procurement issues, things we do in here, save money, reassure the residents that things are being done for them. We're not wasting money. If they have concerns are getting addressed and things are getting taken care of. What are you going to do differently so we can save money, get the job done, and make sure things around here are done and transparent for the residents, not for a friend, not for a city employee. Everything you're going to do is going to be for the residents and not for wasting time or wasting money. Because I would like to lower our bills in this city, not raise them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate that question. I am very budget-minded. In my experience, I have, of course, done a number of budgets as well as managed the finances of the different agencies that I've been manager over. I am a person that believes that we should be very mindful to our rules and procedures. And of course, every local government has to abide by purchasing laws. And so we want to make sure that we are in line with the purchasing laws and how we conduct our purchases and our bids and all the other processes related to procuring our services and equipment and materials. So what I would do is work with our purchasing director to ensure that they are in tune with those procedures as well as the city's policies related to purchasing. And I would also make sure that we work very closely in line with the finance department, because the finance department would also be responsible to be in a part of the process of making sure we're spending in the right way, that whatever we purchase is in line with the budget, and everyone is responsible for that. Every department, because I know every department has budgeting responsibilities, they also have purchasing responsibilities. So to make sure that every department is in line with the policies, that they're accountable to what they are purchasing, and making sure we're in line with that budget.
Commissioner Colwell.
Ms. Davis again.
Hello.
If selected, I should put my glass on, to move this great city forward as our next city manager, knowing what you know and what you've learned, what would that look like? What do you see as our greatest assets and our greatest weaknesses?
Thank you for that question. Right now, the greatest weakness is our core. Our core is our staff, our team. We have a number of vacancies right now, key vacancies in our senior management team. And so that would be the biggest priority that I feel that we need to address, making sure those key positions are filled, particularly as it relates to the planning department, economic development. And I believe you now have hired an HR director, and I recently heard that there's no longer a finance director. So these key positions are very vital to moving forward the priorities and visions of the commission. So that's what I would do to move forward. And then the other priority, I believe, is concerning our infrastructure. I continually hear about the concerns about flooding. So I will first get with the team to see what has been done. I know there have been a number of studies. And so we need to look at the studies to see what is required to address those concerns and try to seek the resources that we need to carry out that plan.
Commissioner McCool.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Thank you for your time this afternoon, the one-on-one. Very productive,
Yes,
and thank you for the insight. I would like to ask you, in the first 30 days of taking that seat upstairs, what are your top 3 priorities?
Well, the first 30 days would be sitting down with each one of you, making sure I understand your priorities, your needs, and your concerns, and also putting together a communication plan with you. Each one of you need to be on top of what's happening in the city. I need to connect with you on a very regular basis to make sure that you're in tune to what's happening on a day-to-day basis and keep you in that loop. And so that's what I would start with. The next, I will start with my leadership team and getting to know the different departments. What are the issues? What are their needs? What are their concerns? So I will now be able to determine the direction and the guidance that they need to carry out the direction of the city.
Thank you, Commissioner Vila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm trying to debate to ask the same question or go to a different one, which you gave an answer to about the flooding going on in the city. We met, and you also met with some of our residents last night. You heard their concerns, and I'm sure that you heard a lot of our concerns as well.
Absolutely.
So, knowing what you know now, what would be your goals to move the city forward, being the staff, bringing up the staff's morale and the residents' trust to the city?
As far as the staff morale, certainly as it's connected to the answer I just gave, making sure we fill those gaps of vacancies in the key leadership, and also making sure that I understand their concerns and needs. What I see right now is the lack of stability, and that stability is really as a result of the vacancy and the turnover in the city manager's position. So being in that position will start the process of building the morale, because right now, of course, I'm sure the team is doing a great job keeping the operation flowing, but without the head leadership guiding and being able to give them the support and the resources they need to carry forward, it is hard to maintain progress. Once you move over a different city manager, they will have to come about and learn the operation, and if that person leaves, you have to start that process all over. And that's why right now we see a very slow movement in the projects that are before us, because of the guidance that is not there to help them move along in what they are responsible of doing. The team is very valuable and very important to the progress, because they're the ones doing the work. So they need that support. They need to know that they have someone there helping them, encouraging them, empowering them, and also giving them the support and making sure that they have the skill sets to carry through. And as far as the community, the second part of your question, the community needs communication. I think communication is key. I'm sure, as I heard yesterday from many of the community members, they want to know. They want to know that they have someone who will listen. They want to know if they have someone who's available for them to help share the updates, the information, what's happening in the city, and to know that they have an ear about their concerns. So, of course, I want to be involved in the community to make sure that they know that I have an open door policy to sit with them, to make myself available to the community from time to time, to make sure that they have someone they can have a pinpoint person to understand the makings of what's happening in the community and in the city.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Thank you. I'd like to ask what your approach is to project management and how you approach it with regards to the planning and the reporting of a project to all the key stakeholders, including the citizens and the staff and the commission.
Okay. So one of my major ways to handle project management, I believe that each year it is very important to set goals. And so with those goals, I work with all my department heads to establish goals for their departments, and we make sure that we understand the goals for that year, make sure it lines up with the budget, and make sure those goals are established with key objectives to reach those goals. And then at the end of the year, we are able to determine how we have progressed. And so that project management process is by listing all our projects, stating our projected completion dates or our goals and how we want to meet those objectives, and communicate communicate that. So there's a regular review. I meet with each department head. I hold weekly meetings. In my previous experience, I had weekly meetings with all my department heads, and part of that weekly gathering is to go over the progress of what we're doing and how we're faring along with that. What are the hiccups? What are the issues that we are coming about with those projects? And how we communicate that to the commission is that we'll give you a periodic update with that on those that progress report. And so I know now currently you have a city manager report, and you also have the city manager videos that goes out to the Deltona TV. And so I think those are nice avenues in which to communicate project progress as well as written reports. And so that's how I will handle updating the commission on those projects.
Commissioner Harriet? Commissioner?
Sorry, it took a second. Can you give us an example of a project, a significant project in one of the agencies that you've worked with in the past, of a project that you were able to complete without using a significant amount of ad valorem revenue or other tax funding? So a project that you were able to complete with alternative funding sources.
Let me think in my mind. I know we've had many projects that we use grant funding. Without ad valorem taxes. There was a project, currently we have at the City of Lake Worth Beach, we're working on a project with our infrastructure for our electric utilities. And that project is ongoing, and it started with issuing a $40 million bond to start the Sustainability and Resilience Project. However, we knew that $40 million would not be enough to carry through for the rest of the project. And that project was to strengthen our electric utility infrastructure so that it'll protect us from natural disasters and other events, and make sure we had system reliability and reduce outages. So we needed additional funding. So what we did is we sought grant funding, and so in that endeavor, we were awarded and we sought funding from the Department of Energy called the GRIP, Resilience and Innovative Program, and we were awarded $23.4 million to continue and leverage the funding that we had already acquired for that project.
Ms. Davis, my question is, we are known in Deltona for hiring consultants, and sometimes we don't follow through, right? What would you do to make sure that we break that mold, that if we go to a consultant, they give us an idea, for example, whether it's to build a bridge or to fix the Teresa water basin, whatever it is, we go to a consultant. What would you do to make sure that, number one, we stay on a time frame, number two, that we can project that time frame and that project to not only the residents, but also the commission and staff, and number three, when there are opportunities, like, for example, if it falls under the CRA, which we have a commissioner here that's been fighting for certain things to get done and they haven't, or if it's something that falls under ECHO, to make sure that we apply, because we haven't been doing that.
So, Mayor, let me make sure I understand your question, because I see a lot of a variety of issues in that. So you mentioned about how do we follow through with contract services. And so I'm assuming we're talking about possibly studies on issues that we're having. Am I?
Moving from studies to actually start making them into an actual project. Once it become a project, how would you, effectively communicate that to the residents and the commission, and make sure that we apply for grants, whether it's ECHO, if something falls under the CRA?
Thank you for clarifying that. So when we seek studies or evaluations on different issues, certainly it is to get an understanding of the magnitude and what's necessary to correct a situation. And so studies are very important, and so in doing so, it also gives you information as to what is required, what resources that you need in order to resolve that situation. So studies are important to know what we need and what type of resources we will demand to carry that out. So in order to move forward in that, we have to make sure. So there are times when you are receiving services on or studies and you don't have the funding for it. So there's a possibility that the next step in that process is seek the funding. And so once you seek the funding, we apply that to the project and we move forward. So it's a matter of creating a project plan, making sure the project is moving forward, and also keeping you updated, which relates to the question of project management, making sure it's moving forward and constantly reviewing the progress of that project and communicating it to not only the commission but the public. And so that communication is in writing and also reports at the commission meetings. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, we still have 6 minutes, so I'm going to start the different way now, see how many commissioners we can make it to. We'll start with Commissioner Harriet, if you have any additional questions, and then we'll go to Commissioner Shimkus.
I don't have any additional questions.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes, thank you. Can you think about something and give us an example of something in your career that you wish you would be able to go back and revisit what you learned from that, if it was a mistake or a regret, and how you might approach something differently with what you've learned since then?
That's a very good question, Commissioner.
Well, thank you.
So I'm trying to think on a project. I don't have a particular project, but what I can say is, as city manager, I rely on my staff. And so I see the department heads to be subject matter experts. And so I rely on their advice and their guidance and thoughts on certain situations that I may not be an expert in, because I'm not an expert in everything. So that's why I rely on them. And so the role of city manager is very dynamic. There are 50 things going on at the same time sometimes, and so you have to act quickly. And so sometimes you can act quickly and the decision may not be something that should have been made or should have been made differently, should I say. And if that situation, sometimes the situation can come back on you if you move in a different direction, if you not had taken the time to step back and look at that situation and think it out. But sometimes you're not in that position to do so, and you have to rely on your staff. So that's why it's very important to make sure you have staff that you can trust, staff that is professionally trained and very in tune to the work that they do. So I hope that answers your question, but there are times where I had to make quick decisions sometimes, and you wish you had even 10 more minutes to make that decision. You might have done something different.
Thank you. Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor. So, you're aware that we started with a long list and we wound up with a short list of candidates. Yes. Some of the ones that pulled out gave reasons of watching our meetings and listening to comments from neighborhood elected officials or other areas, and they felt that they weren't ready to take on the challenge of the city of Deltona. Mm-hmm. You're here, you're interviewing for the position. I want to know what you look forward to in working for the city of Deltona, and why are you here? Why do you want to work for the city of Deltona? Considering all these other people who turned us down for whatever they saw, which it's okay, if they turned us down for that reason, they don't deserve to be here. So I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I thank you for that question, because I do want to say I am here, and I don't shy away from a challenge. I know there's been a lot of talk. I've heard a lot of concerns from the community, from the commission. I've read a lot of stuff. I've watched your meetings, and I guess one could look and be discouraged. But I don't see it that way. I see it as a challenge. I've been there. I have 25 years of experience in very progressive communities, and so I believe that I have developed a tough skin and the disposition to handle the challenges. I think this is a very vibrant community. I like its structure. I like what I see in the community. I think it has rich potential to go where you want it to go. And so all I can say is I don't shy away from a challenge, and I say thank you to those candidates for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner McCool, and we just make sure we keep it to under this time frame.
Jack, you got it. I would like to ask you, please explain to me your process for handling resident conflict, because, and what I say by that is that we have residents with serious concerns, and I need to understand that we have a well-defined process, because we have had in the past retaliation from departments. You know, I mean, I'm just going to say that it's been code enforcement was used against residents. I want to understand the process for handling our resident complaints in a way that brings about resolution instead of more conflict.
You have 51 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
So quickly, I would certainly have an opportunity, would like an opportunity to talk to the residents and their concerns, have an open ear, and discuss the issues and resolve. One thing I believe in protecting staff. I hope staff is not attacked. In this field of public service is tough, and we want to do a good job, and we want to do what's best for the community, and so we have the best at heart generally, and so we want to provide good service to the community. And I think by doing that is keeping an open ear and open door to allow them to share their concerns and allow us to address it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Davis.
You're
we
welcome.
appreciate your time.
Thank you for this opportunity. I thank you all. This has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we're ahead and enter into public forum.
Mayor, can I ask for a point of information on the process, please?
Absolutely.
Would it be appropriate, given the fact that we've had fewer candidates than expected, that we perhaps ask after public comment, we bring each of them back for another 20-minute round for more questions?
That would be outside of what we asked for, but I mean, that is up to the commission.
What was the question?
He wants to know if we can bring each one back for 20 minutes. Yeah. So, do you want to ask for consensus?
I would like to ask for consensus, yeah. If after comment, if we can bring each candidate back for another round of questions for another 20 minutes.
Okay.
After public comment, yes. After public comment,
right?
yes.
Are they still here?
Oh, Doc left?
I'm just saying, it wasn't part of the...
I'm sorry, yeah, if he left, I'll withdraw. I'm sorry.
All right, can we find out if they're still here before we go through a consensus? He left? Okay.
Mayor, I'll see if I can call him, if he's not too far away, maybe you can start.
It's okay. It's okay. We still have a meeting on Monday. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Collin. Would you like to withdraw that? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Shimkus. Let's go ahead and let's move forward with public comments.
Okay. Mayor, there are two public comments. Brandy White, please.
Brandy White, Deltona. I just first and foremost would like to ask for everybody to disclose any communications, whether it's through third parties, text, emails, whatever, previous to April 13th today. I think it's important that we all have an open and transparent process, and I think that should be part of it. In addition, I think at this point, I'm going to save my comments on what I just heard, even though that was my intention originally, was to address them. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Seeing that this is a special commission, are we okay just saying if we've had any, just to make sure that there is no? Madam Clerk. Can you call each of us, please? For ex parte communication, I guess is what we can call it.
Okay, Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
None.
Commissioner Colwell? Commissioner Harriet?
Commissioner Harriet, have you had any communication prior to today's date?
Commissioner McCool?
No.
Commissioner Shimkus?
No.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
I had a phone call this morning with Mr. Dougherty.
Mike?
And Mayor Vila?
None prior to today. Yeah, your mic was muted, that's what they wanted.
I had a phone call this morning right before my meeting with Mr. Dougherty.
All right, next public comment.
Because I might have been late.
Okay, Gail Barr, please.
I thought we were going to be able to ask questions, sorry. Gail Barr, I've been a resident since 1981, and I didn't know if we were able to ask the questions directly to them or not. So I don't know, these were my things. I wanted to know if they were currently employed still, and I wanted to know if they are still currently employed, why do they want to leave? Especially to come to Deltona under the circumstances. So I don't know, I wish I could have asked that. And then they mentioned that they would listen to the residents, but I also want to know if they were going to hear the residents, not just listen to what we have to say, but to hear what we have to say, because a lot of residents have a lot of good experience and good comments, and we're the ones who they're working for or will be working for. So I want to know if they were going to hear, not just listen. And then I want to know if they were going to do about the decorum from up there to be more professional on a few, and back here, not just back here, but a few up here aren't as professional as, I come from a corporate world, so I feel that it's not as professional as it should be. So I had some questions, but obviously I can't ask them. But those are the questions if you can ask of it, when you see them again.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, for, informative purpose. Ms. Gill, that was last night. I know I ran into you this morning, but it was last night. So we did have open last night, but I'm sure moving forward, your questions will be answered, Ms. Gill.
Thank you.
Albert Bryant, please.
Okay. It's pretty bad we only have two candidates up here to be able to see and talk to and or understand what they do or don't want to be able to do with this city. I want to advise that we take the time to have Mr. Suggs come in and have anybody else that's left on this list come in. Because if you take a vote on just these two, to me, that's a hasty decision that you're making. And the last thing I want is what we just went through. I don't think anybody wants another year of what we just went through. There's huge, huge questions about the budget. When I see another manager run from this city and tell people that this budget was a disaster, there's a problem with that. I don't know how to express this any other way. Do not rush this, because to rush this is to make a fool out of yourselves and all these people behind me once again. And remember, November's coming up real soon, because we want somebody that's stable, that is going to be here to where we can talk to them. We want to be able to walk in that door, set a time to where we can talk to a manager, a department head, and/or otherwise to solve the problems of our city. You know, for the 9 years I've been doing this, I've never had to take and make an appointment with a manager. Either two things. One, they wouldn't talk to me, or I was able to call them and talk to them. And there was only one that I could do that with. All the others wouldn't talk to me at all, period. And as far as I'm concerned, that's unacceptable. Now think about how many managers we've had in 9 years, and only one would actually talk to me. I don't want to go through that again. I really don't. I would like to be able to take and listen to these people, bring that grievance in here, and solve that problem. Because, you know, for the 9 years I've been doing this, there's only one man that's been able to listen to us. Just one out of 9 years. And he solved most of the problems that were brought to him. I don't want to go through the last year and a half all over again. I really don't. What I want is you to take your time, make a decision that everybody can live with. Don't rush this.
Mayor, this closes public comment.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.